The rain pounded relentlessly on the thin fabric of our tent as thunder cracked overhead, turning what was supposed to be a simple father-son camping trip into a chaotic mess. I was 18, fresh out of high school, and had reluctantly agreed to join my dad and his old army buddy, Mark, in the dense forests of the Adirondacks in upstate New York. But when a sudden storm flooded my dad's tent, leaving him to crash in the truck, Mark offered to share his with me, and that's when everything changed. I remember crawling into the cramped space that first night, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Mark was already settled in his sleeping bag, his broad shoulders and salt and pepper hair illuminated by the faint glow of a lantern. He was 45, divorced, and had always been like an uncle to me. Gruff on the outside but with a quiet kindness that made family gatherings bearable. "You okay, kid?" he asked, his voice low and steady, cutting through the storm's roar. I nodded, but my heart raced for reasons I couldn't yet admit. Growing up in a conservative suburb outside Buffalo, I'd buried my feelings deep, terrified of what my dad, a stoic mechanic who still quoted Bible verses at dinner, would think if he knew I was gay. As the night wore on, sleep evaded me. The tent felt smaller with every breath, and Mark's presence was impossible to ignore. We started talking to pass the time, whispers at first about nothing, high school stories, his time in the service. But then it shifted. "You seem different lately, Alex," he said, propping himself up on an elbow. "Like you're carrying something heavy." His eyes met mine in the dim light, and for the first time I felt seen. Not as the awkward teen son of his best friend, but as someone real. I hesitated, then blurted out the truth I'd hidden for years. "I'm gay, Mark, and I don't know how to tell anyone." The words hung there, vulnerable and raw, and instead of judgment he smiled softly. "Takes guts to say that. I've been there myself. Kept it secret through 2 tours and a marriage that never felt right." That confession opened a floodgate. Over the next few hours, as the rain eased, we shared stories that bridged the gap between us. Mark talked about his ex-wife, how he tried to fit into the mold society expected. Straight, married, kids, but it had crumbled under the weight of his unspoken desires. He'd come out quietly after the divorce, but only to a few close friends, not including my dad. "People like us, we learn to hide," he said, his voice tinged with regret. I told him about the bullying in school, the crushes I'd crushed down, the fear of disappointing my family. In that tent, under the canopy of stars peeking through retreating clouds, a connection formed, not just attraction, but a deep empathy born from shared isolation. The next morning, the sun broke through, drying the muddied campsite. My dad emerged from the truck, grumbling about his sore back but oblivious to the shift that had occurred overnight. We packed up for a hike, but throughout the day, stolen glances between Mark and me carried a new weight. At a scenic overlook, while Dad snapped photos of the valley, Mark brushed my hand accidentally, or was it? Sending a jolt through me. "Be careful," he whispered later by the campfire, his tone laced with caution. "Your dad's my oldest friend. Whatever this is, it could blow everything up." But the spark was lit, and ignoring it felt impossible. As the trip progressed, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Dad organized a fishing outing on the lake, and while he cast lines with enthusiasm, Mark and I lagged behind, our conversations dipping into dangerous territory. "What if we explored this?" I asked quietly, my pulse quickening. Mark's face hardened. "You're young, Alex. I've got 27 years on you. Society doesn't look kindly on that. Age gaps, especially in our community. And your dad. He'd see it as betrayal." His words stung, highlighting the chasms, generational differences, the risk to friendships, the societal stigma against relationships with power imbalances, even if consensual. That evening, back at camp, a heated debate erupted around the fire. Dad, after a few beers, ranted about the way things are changing too fast, complaining about pride parades and forcing agendas on kids. Mark stayed silent at first, but I could see the strain in his jaw. When Dad made an offhand joke about those types, I snapped. "Dad, what if one of those types was right here? What if it was me?" The words escaped before I could reel them in. Silence fell, broken only by the crackling flames. Dad's face paled, then reddened. "What the hell are you talking about?" he demanded. Mark intervened, his voice calm but firm. "Easy, Tom. The boy's just asking a question." But the damage was done. Dad stormed off to the truck, leaving Mark and me alone again. "You didn't have to do that," Mark said, but there was admiration in his eyes. We sat close, shoulders touching, as he shared more about his own coming out. Losing friends, family estrangement. "It's not just about us," he murmured. "It's about fighting for a world where this doesn't have to be a battle." In that moment, the attraction deepened into something profound, a bond forged in vulnerability. The following day brought more strain. Dad was distant, barely speaking during breakfast. We hiked a rugged trail, the physical exertion mirroring the emotional turmoil. At a rest stop, he pulled me aside. "That stuff you said last night, was it serious?" His eyes searched mine, a mix of confusion and fear. I nodded, heart pounding. "Yeah, Dad, I'm gay." He exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. "I don't get it. You're a good kid. Why choose this?" His words cut deep, echoing the societal prejudices I'd feared, viewing orientation as a choice, a flaw. Mark watched from afar, his expression pained. Later, when Dad napped, he approached me by the stream. "That took real courage," he said, his hand lingering on my arm. The touch was electric, stirring feelings I struggled to name. But he pulled back. "We can't, Alex. Not like this. It'd destroy him and us." The rejection hurt, but I understood the logic. The age difference invited accusations of grooming, even if unfounded. The friendship with Dad added layers of betrayal. Society's lens would twist our story into something ugly, ignoring the genuine connection. As evening fell, reconciliation flickered. Dad approached the fire, his posture defeated. "I love you, son. I just need time." It wasn't acceptance, but it was a start. Mark clapped him on the back, diffusing the tension with stories from their army days. But beneath it, my feelings for Mark grew, complicated by the knowledge that pursuing them could shatter everything. The trip's final night amplified the drama. A clear sky invited stargazing, and we lay out on blankets, the three of us. Dad dozed off early, leaving Mark and me under the vast expanse. "What now?" I whispered. Mark turned to me, his face illuminated by moonlight. "We take it slow. Figure out if this is real or just the isolation talking." His words offered hope, but reality loomed. The drive home, back to normal life where secrets could fester. In the quiet, we talked dreams. Me heading to college in NYC, him running his small construction business. The age gap felt less daunting in theory, but society's judgments, whispers of daddy issues or exploitation, hung heavy. "People will say I'm taking advantage," Mark admitted. "And maybe they're right to question it." I argued back, defending our right to explore, but doubt crept in. Was this love, or a fleeting crush amplified by circumstance? Dawn broke, and we packed up, the air thick with unspoken words. Dad seemed softer, asking tentative questions about my life. Mark drove partway, his glances in the rearview mirror charged with promise. But as we neared home, the bubble burst. "This stays between us," Mark said firmly before dropping me off. The goodbye hug lingered too long, igniting a spark that society might never understand. Back in Buffalo, the real conflicts emerged. I started college at SUNY, diving into LGBTQ clubs, finding community but grappling with my feelings for Mark. He texted sporadically, careful not to cross lines, but each message stirred longing. Dad, meanwhile, oscillated between awkward support and regression, attending a PFLAG meeting once but bailing on others. "It's hard, son," he'd say. "I wasn't raised for this." One weekend, Mark visited under the guise of seeing Dad. We stole moments, a walk in the park where hands brushed, confessions of mutual attraction. "I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted, but guilt shadowed it. "Tom would kill me if he knew." The secrecy added thrill but also pain, highlighting societal pressures to conform, hiding relationships that defy norms. Tensions peaked at a family barbecue. Dad's brother, Uncle Ray, a vocal conservative, ranted about gay agendas ruining America. I stayed silent, but Mark challenged him. Love's love, Ray. Who are we to judge? The argument escalated, exposing fractures. Later, Dad confronted Mark. You seem awfully defensive. Something going on. Mark deflected, but the seed was planted. Alone that night, Mark and I met in secret. This is tearing me apart, he said. I want you, Alex, but at what cost? Tears welled as we embraced. The embrace chaste but intense. The age difference fueled internal conflict. Me questioning if it was healthy, him fearing judgment. Society's double standards loomed. Straight age gap relationships often celebrated, but gay ones scrutinized. Months passed, the relationship evolving in stolen calls and visits. I came out fully at college, facing mixed reactions, support from friends, backlash from some. Dad improved slowly, reading books on acceptance, but ignorance lingered. Just don't flaunt it, he'd say, embodying generational clashes. A turning point came during Pride Month. I invited Dad to a parade in NYC. He declined, but Mark showed up unexpectedly. Amid rainbow flags, we walked hand in hand briefly, a public declaration risking exposure. This feels right, I said, but a photo circulated online and Dad saw it. The call came furious. Mark? With you? How long? Betrayal cut deep. Confrontation ensued at home. Dad accused Mark of manipulation. He's old enough to be your father. Mark defended. It's real, Tom. Age doesn't define love. The argument unearthed prejudices. Dad's fear of losing his son to that lifestyle. Society's view of gay relationships as transient or predatory. Tears flowed as old friendships strained. In the aftermath, choices loomed. Mark and I paused, reflecting on the chaos. Is this worth it? He asked. I pondered the societal hurdles. Legal acceptance versus cultural stigma, the fight for equality amid backlash. Reconciliation began tentatively. Dad, after counseling, admitted his biases. I want you happy, even if it's with him. But doubts persisted. Mark and I navigated carefully, building something authentic amid controversy. Years later, looking back, the camping trip was the catalyst. It sparked love but ignited debates on age, consent, and societal norms in LGBTQ relationships. Was it right for Alex and Mark to pursue their connection despite the age difference and potential fallout?